everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and it's time to crack into a good book. So, I know I have taken a bit of a break from filming and that was not intended. Unfortunately, I caught COVID right before my birthday, so that was really shitty, honestly, and it hit me harder than I expected. I'm fully vaccinated and boosted, so that was unfortunate that I had a breakthrough infection and that, some of the symptoms were not fun. So I've been kind of recovering from that, and with the Olympics being started, I'm like super into that. So yeah, I have not really been wanting to film, but I figured now it's time. I'm gonna try to get back into things. Obviously, I'm very delayed in filming and posting, so I am going to actually talk to you about some January releases today. So I have 15 books that I'll talk to you about today. I have read a few of them. I don't want to talk about all of them, just to kind of keep things short, because I'm a little out of practice, and I'm like, right now as I'm talking, I'm still like having trouble breathing, so that's, delightful. I guess before we get started, leave some sort of flag emoji in the comments to let me know that you're here, if those exist, because, Olympics. So I'll first start off just by briefly mentioning the January arcs that I've read and reviewed. Some of these I've already posted reviews on my channel, and I'll leave those linked down below. Some of these I have read, but again, with the delays in filming, I just haven't gotten a chance to actually record my review yet. So those will be coming hopefully soon, but I do just want to briefly mention these. So the first book I'll mention is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. This is an adult thriller. This came out on January 4th. Has a really fun tropical island setting. I love that it was, at least they start off from Maui. That was fabulous, and they're on an island, so there's a bit of closed circle vibes. I think it's a very quick read. I had a good time with it. The next one I'll mention is When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord. This is YA contemporary. It's perfect if you're interested in Broadway, I think, in particular. But it's basically like a reverse Mamma Mia situation, so I gave this one 3.5 stars. Then there's Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves by Meg Long, which I'll talk about a little bit in more detail in this video because it's one of the two favorite arcs that I read, so I do want to mention it in more detail, but I did give it 4 stars. Let's see, there's The North Wind by Alexandria Warwick. This one kind of gives off Beauty and the Beast / Hades and Persephone vibes. I liked the idea of it, but I kind of struggled with the pacing, I think, and I didn't really like the main character as much, but again, I'll leave these reviews linked down below. Then there's Anatomy, a love story by Dana Schwartz. I gave this one 3 stars. This is YA historical fiction, kind of gothic vibes. Our main character, who's a lady who just wants to be a surgeon, and that's, not really heard of in this time. Yeah, kind of some issues, I think, for me with the second half and the ending that I didn't particularly enjoy. There's Made in Manhattan by Lauren Lane. This is adult romance. It's, I gave it 3.5 stars. It's really cute and fluffy. It's just not my favorite of her books that I've read so far. Then there's Such a Pretty Smile by Christina Meester. This one was interesting. This is adult thriller / horror. I gave it 4 stars. It's very dark and kind of twisted. I definitely read it very quickly because I just couldn't stop myself. Then, yeah, so we're kind of getting into the ones that I haven't actually reviewed on my channel yet, but hopefully soon. There's also Road of Bones by Christopher Golden. This is adult horror. I gave it 3 stars. It's on an isolated road in Siberia where they're on this highway that's known as the Road of Bones that's built on top of, bones of prisoners of gulags. So definitely an ominous setting, and then, weird things start to happen with creatures pursuing them. And then finally there's A Letter to 3 Witches by Elizabeth Bass, and this is like a paranormal romance rom-com sort of situation. I thought this was really fun. This is the other of my favorite arcs that I've read so far, so I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail. So now we'll do the usual where I go through the month and talk about releases. Obviously all of these books are already out now because we're in February somehow, so anyway, the first book that came out January 4th, and I do actually have some of these that I bought, so I have things to show you. So the first one I'll talk about is The Starless Crown by James Rollins. So this is adult fantasy. Here we have a gifted student who foretells an apocalypse, and her reward is a sentence of death. Fleeing into the unknown, she's drawn into a team of outcasts. We've got a broken soldier who once again takes up the weapons he's forbidden to wield and carves a trail back home. We have a drunken prince who steps out from his beloved brother's shadow and claims a purpose of his own. An imprisoned thief who escapes the crushing dark and discovers a gleaming artifact, one that will ignite a power struggle across the globe. On the run, hunted by enemies old and new, they must learn to trust each other in order to survive in a world evolved in strange, beautiful, and deadly ways, and uncover ancient secrets that hold the key to their salvation. But with each passing moment, doom draws closer. So, yeah, this was an auto-buy for me. I really like James Rollins. I've read, I think, well, I haven't read his books published as James Clemens, I believe. So I've read his Sigma Force series and like his standalone adventure thrillers. I used to have them right behind me, but I've rearranged my bookshelves, and I'm not sure where they ended up. I think that they're like down here, but that's the Sigma Force novels. Anyway, he is a really fun writer. I have, at least with the thrillers, enjoyed how he's worked in like various historical or scientific components, and like he kind of uses those as motivation and is like explores some of these concepts. So anyway, I think he does a really good job with pacing. I've really enjoyed his books. So this was definitely an auto buy for me because I know I enjoy his writing and I'm curious to see how he does with fantasy. I think this sounds really good. I mean, foretelling the apocalypse sounds ominous. I like the sound of our cast of characters, and with them, I think, you know, uncovering ancient secrets and trying to survive in this world, I feel like his thriller writing will work pretty well in that sort of setting. So I'm really excited to check this one out. Obviously, already bought that. This was a birthday present to me from myself. The next book that came out January 4th is The Ivory Key by Akshaya Raman. So this is a YA fantasy, and this sounds rather interesting. So we have 4 siblings, but they've never really been close or really even liked each other that much. They're torn apart by the different paths their lives have taken. Only one thing can bring them back together. So we're searching for the Ivory Key, which is a thing of legend that will lead the way to a new source of magic. Magic is this country's biggest export and the only thing standing between them and a war with neighboring kingdoms. So, you know, as long as their neighbors don't find out that the magic mines are nearly depleted. The siblings all have something to gain from finding the Ivory Key and even more to lose if they don't. So for one of our siblings, the Ivory Key is the only way to live up to the legacy of her mother, the beloved former Maharani. We've got another sibling who plans to get out of his impending political marriage by selling this to the highest bidder. We've got another sibling who's been falsely accused of assassinating the former Maharani, and then this is like the only way to clear his name. And then the last of our siblings needs to prove her loyalty to the Ravens, which is a group of rebels that wants to take control away from the Maharani and give it to the people. With each sibling harboring secrets and conflicting agendas, figuring out a way to work together may be the most difficult task of all. And in a quest this dangerous, working together is the only way to survive. So I think this sounds really exciting. I am very curious, like, what is a magic mine? How does that work? I guess with a mine, it should be physical, but like, what does it look like? So that's just me, you know. I think that would be interesting to find out. But I like that this is Indian inspired. I think that'll be a really fun, diverse setting. And yeah, I mean, this just sounds great. I like that we have siblings working together, you know, rather reluctantly, but I think that should provide a lot of tension and interesting moments for us. So we'll move to January 11th, and the first book I'll talk about here is Cold the Night, Fast the Wolves by Meg Long. So I did mention this, that I read an arc of this already and enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. We'll leave my review link down below, but basically this is YA sci-fi, and it's really perfect to read in the winter. It has like a really cold atmosphere. You basically like, it reminded me a lot of Balto and just generally dog racing with like really cold setting. The premise here is that we're in the frozen wasteland of a planet and a girl is on the run with a wolf who's born to be a killer but bound to be her guide. As they fight to escape ice goblins, giant bears, and a ruthless leader intent on trapping them both, one question drives them relentlessly forward. Where do you turn when there was nowhere to hide? So I'll give you a high-level overview of my review, but basically we have a lot of really cool elements here. Like, I liked the planet, I liked the natural predators that we got on the, you know, this world. I think the tensions between these peoples were really interesting. We've got like a corporation versus people who kind of live off the land. It did a good job of combining sci-fi and survival elements in a really exciting way, and generally I liked the main character. I liked our little wolf dog friend, because yay for animal companions. The next January 11th book I'll talk about is The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder. Obviously I bought this. So this is pitched as Sleeping Beauty meets Indiana Jones, and that was basically like enough for me. So this is a YA fairy tale retelling of sorts, and obviously we have some thriller elements. So we have I don't know. Fofa? Okay. Anyway, that was dumb. So this one character is a bookish treasure hunter with a knack for runes and riddles who definitely doesn't believe in true love. Shane is a tough as grit girl warrior from the north who likes cracking skulls, pretty girls, and doing things her own way. We've got Briar Rose, who's a prince under a sleeping curse who's been waiting 100 years for the kiss that will wake him. Cursed princes are nothing but ancient history to We'll say Fee and hope that it's short for like Fiona or something like that. Anyway, so she breaks her finger on a bone spindle while exploring a long-lost ruin. Now she's stuck with the spirit of Briar Rolls until she and Shane can break the centuries-old curse on his kingdom. We've got dark magic, witch hunters, and bad exes who all stand in the way, not to mention a mysterious witch who might end up stealing Shane's heart along with whatever else she's after. But nothing scares Fee more than the possibility of falling in love with Briar Rose. So, yeah, I mean, this was not a hard sell for me, honestly. Like, I love fairy tale retellings. I'm a big fan of Indiana Jones, so that combination sounded fabulous to me, and I really can't wait to see how it goes. Okay, the next January 11th book is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. This is adult thriller, and I was so excited to buy this book. So, when Chloe Davis was 12, 6 teenage girls went missing in her small Louisiana town. By the end of summer, her own father had confessed to the crimes and was put away for life, leaving Chloe and the rest of her family to grapple with the truth and try to move forward while dealing with the aftermath. Now, 20 years later, Chloe's a psychologist in Baton Rouge and is getting ready for her wedding. While she finally has a fragile grasp on the happiness she's worked so hard to achieve, she sometimes feels as out of control of her own life as the troubled teens who are her patients. So when a local teenage girl goes missing and then another, that terrifying summer comes crashing back. Is she paranoid, seeing parallels from her past that aren't actually there? Or, for the second time in her life, is Chloe about to unmask a killer? So I've heard that this is a really exciting thriller, very fast-paced. I love a good serial killer novel, and I like that this takes place in Louisiana. I think that should be a rather interesting setting. So I definitely wanted to get this, and absolutely can't wait to see what is happening. The next January 11th book, I bought several of these, so a lot of these were birthday presents to myself because I was pitying myself for getting sick before my birthday. But anyway, so we have Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Lynn Tan. I really wanted to own this physically because I think this is an absolutely beautiful cover. Like, I just... They designed this well. So this is adult fantasy, and this is a retelling of a legend of the Chinese moon goddess. I am probably not going to pronounce these names correctly, but I will do my best. So we have growing up on the moon, Xing Yin is accustomed to solitude, unaware that she's being hidden from the powerful celestial emperor who exiled her mother for stealing his elixir of immortality. But when her magic flares and her existence is discovered, she's forced to flee her home, leaving her mother behind. Alone, untrained, and afraid, she makes her way to the Celestial Kingdom, a land of wonder and secrets. Disguising her identity, she seizes an opportunity to learn alongside the Crown Prince, mastering archery and magic, even as passion flames between her and the Emperor's son. To save her mother, Xingyin embarks on a perilous quest, confronting legendary creatures and vicious enemies across the earth and skies. When treachery looms and forbidden magic threatens the kingdom, however, she must challenge the ruthless Celestial Emperor for her dream, striking a dangerous bargain in which she's torn between losing all she loves or plunging the realm into chaos. So this is the first in a duology. So we've got ancient Chinese mythology, immortals, magic, lost sacrifice, and romance. So that all sounded fabulous to me. I don't know anything about this legend, and I'm really curious to find out more about that. I, again, love a good retelling, so... it's not exactly retelling, I guess it's inspired by, but that's close enough for me. I love that sort of stuff. It sounds like we might have some really great romance here. Okay, so now we'll move to the books that came out January 18th, and the first one I'll talk about here is Electric Idol by Katee Robert. So this is the second book in this Dark Olympus series, and I did read the first one and had a good time with it. So I describe this as kind of being adult paranormal romance, but this particular one is a retelling of Psyche and Eros. So that's interesting. So we've got this modern city of Olympus, and there's always a price to pay. So we've got Psyche, who knew she'd have to face Aphrodite's jealous rage eventually, but she never expected her literal heart to be at stake, or for Aphrodite's gorgeous son to be the one ordered to strike the killing blow. Eros has no problem shedding blood. Raised to be his mother's knife in the dark, he's been conditioned to accept that he's more a monster than man. But when it comes time to take out his latest target, he can't do it. Confused by his reaction to Psyche's unexpected kindness, he does the only thing he can think of to keep her safe. He binds her to him, body and soul. Psyche didn't expect to find herself married to the glittering city's most dangerous killer, but something about Eros awakens a fire inside her that she's never felt before. As lines blur and loyalty shifts, she realizes that Eros might take her heart after all, and she's not sure she can survive the loss. The first book, I thought it was just a really good time. If you're into some fun, sexy times, yeah, that is good for that. But I thought it was really cool to kind of get these Greek mythology retellings in a more modern day setting. Psyche and Eros is a rather interesting story. I've seen it retold a few times, but it's not super common, I think, so I definitely want to check this out. The next book I'll talk about is How to Love Your Neighbor by Sophie Sullivan. This is adult romance, so it's like interior design school, check. Cute house to fix up, check. Sexy grumpy neighbor who's going to get in the way of your plans, check, unfortunately. Grace has it all figured out. In between finishing school and working a million odd jobs, she'll get her degree and her dream job. Most importantly, she'll have a place to belong, something her harsh mother could never make. When an opportunity to fix up and live in a little house on the beach comes along, Grace is all in, until her biggest roadblock moves in next door. We've got Noah, who knows how to make a deal. As a real estate developer, he knows when he's found something special, something he could even call home, provided he can expand by taking over the house next door, the house with a combative and beautiful woman living in it. With the rules for being neighborly going out the window, Grace and Noah are in an all-out feud, but sometimes your nemesis can show you that home is always where the heart is. So this sounds really cute to me. I really like that it's like enemies to lovers, romance, and HGTV elements. Like that is my jam. I'm all about this premise, basically. And I like that she's getting a house on the beach. Like I think that'll be a really fun setting. And this just sounds really cute and charming. Again, there's definitely some specific elements like the, fixing up a house and home ownership that I find really appealing. So hopefully this one will be really fun. Now we'll move to January 25th, and the first book I'll talk about here is Seven Mercies by Lam and Elizabeth May. So this is the sequel to Seven Devils, which I read around the time it came out, which I can't remember when that was. So this is the second book in the duology, and it's adult sci-fi. So we've got a team of 7 rebels who are trying to free the galaxy from this ruthless empire or die trying. So after an ambush leaves the resistance in tatters, the survivors scatter across the galaxy. Wanted by 2 great empires, the bounty on any rebel's head is enough to make a captor filthy rich, and the 7 devils' biggest score of them all. To avoid attacks, the crew scavenge for supplies on long-abandoned Imperial outposts. So not long after the remnants of the rebellion settle briefly on Fortuna, Ariadne gets a message with unimaginable consequences. The Oracle has gone rogue. In a planned coup against the Empire's new ruler, the AI has developed a way of mass programming citizens into mindless drones. And the Oracle's demand is simple. The AI wants one's daughter back at any cost. Time for an impossible-to-infiltrate mission. High chance of death, low chance of success. The devils will have to use their unique skills no matter the sacrifice and pair up with old enemies. Their plan, get to the heart of the Empire, destroy the Oracle, and burn it all to the ground. So I'm really excited about this one. I had a really great time with the first one. Granted, it's been a while since I have read that. I think there was some really great found family dynamics in the first one and some great representation. So I definitely want to see how this story concludes. So the next book I'll talk about is A Letter to 3 Witches by Elizabeth Bass. So I mentioned this as one of the 2 arcs that I really enjoyed that came out in January. So this is, it's adult, like, paranormal romance / rom-com. I feel like there's a lot of these books kind of coming out in this genre where I'm not exactly sure how to classify them, but it's a fun time. So basically, a century ago, Gwen's great-great-grandfather cast a spell with catastrophic side effects. As a result, the Grand Council of Witches forbade his descendants from practicing witchcraft. The council even planted anonymous snitches called Watchers in the community to report any errant spellcasting. Yet magic may still be alive and not so well in Zenobia. Gwen and her cousins, Trudy and Milo, receive a letter from Gwen's adopted sister, Tanith, informing them that she's bewitched one of their partners and will run away with him at the end of the week. While Gwen frets about whether to trust her scientist boyfriend, currently out of town on a beetle studying trip, she's worried that local grad student Jeremy is secretly a watcher doing his own research. Cousin Trudy is so stressed that she accidentally enchants her cupcakes, creating havoc among her bakery customers and in her marriage. Perhaps it's time the family took back control and figured out how to harness their powers. How else can Gwen decide whether her growing feelings for Jeremy are real or the result of too many of Trudy's cupcakes? So this is one that I have not reviewed yet on my channel, but hopefully we'll do that soon. I thought this was really entertaining. I actually read it, started and finished it in the evening of January 1st, so I, just got really sucked into it. I thought it was really fast-paced. It feels, like I said, maybe light urban fantasy, definitely sort of rom-com-y sort of thing. There's definitely romance, but it's not as much of the focus, I thought. It seems more about family dynamics. I thought it was fun because our characters are starting to maybe learn magic, and we kind of follow along with that, but I really liked Gwen. I thought she was a fabulous main character. She's trying to help out her family and make sure everybody's safe. We have the cousins who are entertaining in their own way, and then I particularly liked Gwen's aunt, who was just very clever and amusing. But yeah, I would describe this as there's a few mysteries and hijinks going on. It's just such a fun time. have a full review hopefully coming soon, but definitely wanted to mention it again here. The next book I'll talk about is Running Wild by Kay Tucker. I have already read this because I couldn't stop myself. This is adult romance, and this is the third full-length book in the Simple Wild series, which takes place in Alaska. And basically here we're following a new character who's a veterinarian, so this is Marie. And she knows unrequited love all too well after pining for her best friend, only to watch him marry another woman. So it's a mistake she'll never make again, especially not when she can practically hear the clock ticking on her childbearing years. The trouble is she can't seem to find anyone who appeals to her even a fraction as much as that burly bush pilot did. But then we've got a competitive musher, Tylee Brady, who certainly doesn't, especially after they have a heated altercation. And so she, kind of thinks that she should have nothing to do with them, but she volunteers at the Iditarod sled dog race and discovers that first impressions may be false, and her attraction to Tyler is very real. But his heart belongs to someone else, leaving him nothing to offer but friendship. Marie's been down this road before and knows how that ends, but no matter how hard she works to keep from falling for Tyler, it seems she's doomed to follow her own trail once again. So I just loved this so much, and it was interesting following Marie's point of view because we've seen her in the previous books, and she's kind of, not super sympathetic there, but it was nice to get to follow her here because now I understand her a lot better and actually like her more. So that was really great. I love that setting in Alaska. It is fabulous. Oh my god, it's just this town is so cozy feeling, and I love all the dynamics. This was really interesting getting to have some scenes taking place around the Iditarod. It's just perfect for winter. Yeah, I'll be reviewing this soon, hopefully on my channel, but I loved it. I think this is probably my favorite romance series. Highly recommend it. Okay, so then we've got Barbarian Alien by Ruby Dixon. This is technically a special edition reissue of this story. So this is the second book in the Ice Planet Barbarian series, which is adult sci-fi romance. I definitely wanted to get the special print edition. I think it has the epilogue sort of thing as it's the short story, what happens after the main story thing. So that's what's included in the special print edition. So we follow Liz, and she's trying to find a way off this alien planet she's stuck on, and she meets Rahosh. I have no clue if I'm pronouncing that right. So he's the surliest and stubbornest alien who won't leave her alone, and she might be okay with that. So it's 12 humans are left stranded on a wintry alien planet. I'm one of them. Yay, me! In order to survive, we have to take on a symbiont that wants to require our bodies to live in this brutal place. I like to call it a cootie. And my cootie's a jerk because it also thinks I'm the mate to the biggest, grumpiest alien of the bunch. He believes the cootie's right, so he steals me away from the group, determined to make me fall for him, or else. But he has no idea who he's up against. And if I didn't want his insufferable stuff so much, thanks, cootie, I'd let him know exactly what I'm thinking. As it is, I'm doing my best to fight this instant attraction. Just because the symbiont that thinks we're supposed to be together doesn't mean I have to go along with it. And if we fool around a little, it's merely biology. It doesn't mean I'm in love, or that I'm destined to be his. So I've been wanting to continue this series. I thought the first one was quite fun. I mean, I feel like it kind of leans into this premise, and it's really self-aware, which I really appreciate, and I just thought it was enjoyable. I like this planet, and with it being sort of like a winter planet, it'll be good to read this in the winter, but I'm definitely looking for some more sci-fi romance, and was very excited that this came out in January. Okay, the next book I'll talk about is The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkauf. So this is adult thriller, and I was also very excited for this one. We have a true crime writer, Wiley, who doesn't mind being snowed in at the isolated farmhouse where she's retreated to write her new book. A cozy fire, complete silence. It would be perfect if not for the fact that decades earlier, at this very house, 2 people were murdered in cold blood, and a girl disappeared without a trace. As the storm worsens, she finds herself trapped inside the house, haunted by the secrets contained within its walls, haunted by secrets of her own. Then she discovers a small child in the snow just outside. After bringing the child inside for warmth and safety, she begins to search for answers. But it soon becomes clear that the farmhouse isn't as isolated as she thought, and someone is willing to do anything to find them. So this just sounds so great. We've got a snowstorm that is already yep, check, I love that. We've got sort of this, I guess, isolated setting that kind of gives me close circle murder mystery type vibes. Clearly there's something going on here. I don't know what has happened to this child, and oh boy, is it connected to these 2 people murdered earlier? I don't know. So I think this will be really fun to check out. I haven't read anything by this author before, but obviously if I enjoy this, then I have more things to check out. The next book I'll talk about is You Can Run by Rebecca Zanetti. So this is adult romantic suspense. So Laurel wouldn't call hunting a serial killer a vacation, but with a pile of bodies unearthed near her hometown, she'll take what she can get. Yet something about this case stirs her in unexpected ways, like the startling connection she feels to Dr. Abigail Kane, a fiercely intelligent witness with a disturbing knack for making Laurel feel like she has something on her. Then there's Laurel's attraction to Huck Rivers, the Fish and Wildlife officer guiding her to the crime scene and into the wilderness. A former soldier and trained sniper, Huck's thirst for blood is rivaled only by his fierce pursuit of Laurel. He's been burned by love, wounded by the government, and betrayed before, so to say he has trust issues is the ultimate understatement. Plus, he might be closer to this killer than anybody knows. Once in the heart of darkness with Huck, Laurel must negotiate her distracting desire for him, her complex rapport with Abigail, and her mission to find a serial killer among a growing list of suspects in a danger that's far too close to home. So close, in fact, she fears she'll never find her way back to the woman she once was. So this sounds really exciting. I feel like romantic suspense is a fun sort of like subgenre, I guess, that I don't read a ton of. But obviously hunting serial killers is great. Like, that's definitely something that I'm interested in. And again, I feel like guiding them into the wilderness, that has the potential to, I mean, could be an isolated setting, could increase the tension levels a lot, so I'm really excited to check this one out. And finally, the last book I'll talk about today is The Sunken City by Emma Noyes. I think this is YA fantasy. So we've got Mamare, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. So she's not a witch. Orphaned as a child and raised on a ship by the most dangerous men in the Caribbean, she's one thing and one thing alone, a pirate. And pirates hate magic. After a fateful storm plunges her to the depths of the ocean, she wakes to find herself in a strange new world, an underwater kingdom where magic exists but is strictly outlawed by the king, a man who claims to be her true father. As she struggles to fit into her new role as princess of the Sunken City, she finds herself tangled in a web of love between two brothers, one good, one not so good. And as strange powers manifest within her, she must question everything she was raised to believe, especially if she has any hope of stopping the evil brewing at the bottom of the ocean. So this one sounded really interesting to me. It kind of gives me like Pirates of the Caribbean vibes. I think I had seen that, the Sunken City is like Atlantis. So I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I think that would be a really interesting combination to explore. Obviously love a good ocean setting. I'm excited to see what sort of powers she has. Like, that is definitely something I'm interested in checking out. So with that, those are all the books that I'm going to talk about today. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books already or think you might pick them up. And for your question of the day, just let me know how you've been doing since I have last posted. I know that's been a while, but anyway, I do have a Discord channel, and if you want to join that, the link's in the description below. I hope you're all having an excellent day and are reading something awesome. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a big thumbs up, as that would certainly help me out. But with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up here and see you in the next one.